Episode 38, Fractured Code. The flickering oil lamp cast long shadows on the faces gathered around the ancient scroll. Sarah, pale but resolute, traced the faded inscription with a trembling finger. Alex, Anya, and Corvid leaned in, their expressions a mix of hope and trepidation. "It's fragmented," Sarah murmured, "but there are pieces we can understand. The prophecy speaks of a ritual, a grand fracturing that will tear apart the world's magic core." Anya's brow furrowed. "The core, that's the source of all magic, isn't it?" "Fracturing it would be catastrophic," Corvid nodded grimly. "The Order believes the current magic is chaotic and corrupted. They seek to break it to pave the way for a new order." Alex's heart hammered against his ribs. He gripped the scepter tighter, the cool metal a grounding force amidst the swirling chaos. "But the prophecy mentions something else," Sarah continued, her voice barely a whisper. "A counter-ritual, a way to mend a fracture, but it requires—" She trailed off, her eyes widening in horror. "Requires what?" Alex pressed, his voice urgent. Sarah pointed at a specific symbol etched into the scroll. It resembled a shattered hourglass, its flowing sand replaced by swirling cracks. "The tears of Chronos," she whispered. Anya gasped. "The mythical tears of the time god." "Those are just legends." Corvid shook his head, his face etched with worrying. "Not entirely. Legends often hold a sliver of truth. The Umbra Order might be searching for an artifact imbued with the power of time, a way to manipulate the prophecy itself." A cold dread settled over the room. The fractured world wasn't just at risk of destruction. The Order might be attempting to rewrite fate altogether. "We need to find these tears of Chronos before the Umbra Order does," Alex declared, his voice firm despite his churning stomach. "But where do we even begin?" The weight of the task settled upon them. The fragmented prophecy offered a glimmer of hope, but the path forward remained shrouded in mystery. They needed to delve into the realm of legends to separate truth from myth, all while staying one step ahead of the relentless Umbra Order. Days turned into weeks as they scoured ancient texts, consulted with reluctant scholars, and even ventured into the city's underbelly, seeking whispers of forgotten lore. Each lead proved fruitless, a dead end in a labyrinthine chase. Frustration gnawed at them. Time was running out. The city itself seemed to reflect their anxieties, the once vibrant streets now choked with a palpable tension. The whispers of fractured magic grew louder, warping the very fabric of reality. One evening, as they huddled around a meager meal in their makeshift headquarters, a knock on the door shattered the tense silence. Alex exchanged a nervous glance with Anya and Corvid. Visitors at this hour were never a good sign. He cautiously opened the door, his breath catching in his throat. On the doorstep stood a cloaked figure, shrouded in shadow. But there was something different about this visitor, an aura of hesitant defiance. "I can help you," the figure rasped, their voice distorted by the cloak. "I know where to find the tears of Chronos." Alex's mind raced. A stranger offering such a crucial piece of information felt like a trap, yet hope flickered within him. The visitor could be a double agent working for the Umbra Order, or perhaps a disillusioned member seeking redemption. "Who are you?" Alex demanded, his voice laced with suspicion. The figure hesitated, then pulled back the hood slightly, revealing a weathered face etched with worrying. "My name is Alara," she rasped, her voice surprisingly melodic. "I was an Umbra acolyte, but I witnessed their true motives. I can't stand by and watch them destroy the world." Anya stepped forward, her gaze unwavering. "How do we know we can trust you?" Alara met her gaze, a flicker of desperation flashing in her eyes. "There's no guarantee," she admitted. "But I know where the Order is searching for the tears, a hidden temple deep within the Kron Wastes, a desolate region rumored to hold remnants of forgotten time." Corvid, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "The Kron Wastes, a dangerous place, filled with temporal anomalies and mythical creatures." Alara nodded grimly. "It is, but it's our only chance. The Umbra Order will be there soon. We have to act now." The room fell silent. The air crackled with tension as they weighed the risks and rewards. Trusting Alara was a gamble, but venturing into the Kron Wastes without any leads was a guaranteed failure. Alex finally broke the silence, his voice firm despite the knot of fear in his stomach. "All right, Alara, we'll help you. But if this is a trap..." He didn't need to finish the sentence. Alera's face hardened with resolve. There will be no betrayal. We fight a common enemy now. Anya pursed her lips, but nodded in grudging agreement. Even with Alera's help, the journey to the Kron Wastes was fraught with peril. They would need to gather supplies for the harsh environment, prepare for temporal anomalies that could warp time itself, and most importantly, stay ahead of the relentless Umbra Order as they spent the next few hours making preparations. A newfound sense of determination settled over them. They had a traitor on their side, a map leading to a mythical artifact, and a desperate hope of mending the fractured world. But the path ahead was treacherous, a race against time and the very fabric of reality. The journey to the Kron Wastes would test their courage, their ingenuity, and perhaps even their sanity. But they were all they had left. The fate of the world hinged on their success, and they were prepared to face whatever challenges lay ahead. As they embarked on their perilous quest, they knew this was no longer just a fight against the Umbra Order, it was a battle against time itself. Episode 39, Fractured Sands. The Kron Wastes stretched before them, a desolate landscape ravaged by the relentless bite of time. Twisted rock formations jutted from the cracked earth, their surfaces scarred with swirling chronal anomalies. An unnatural silence hung heavy in the air, broken only by the howling wind that seemed to carry whispers of forgotten eras. Their makeshift caravan, cobbled together from salvaged materials and propelled by Isabella's latest invention, a modified wind-powered vehicle, rumbled across the uneven terrain. Elara, her face masked by a weathered scarf, navigated by ancient star charts and a compass that seemed to struggle against the warped temporal flow. Days bled into one another, punctuated by encounters with bizarre creatures warped by time, anachronistic beasts with shimmering scales, skittering insects with impossibly long lifespans, and even fleeting glimpses of spectral figures, remnants of long-gone civilizations. Anxiety gnawed at Alex. The scepter felt heavy in his hand, a constant reminder of the weight of their mission. He couldn't shake the feeling they were being watched, a prickling sensation at the back of his neck that whispered of unseen eyes following their every move. One evening, as they huddled around a meager campfire, exhaustion etched on their faces, Corvid spoke up, his voice raspy. "There's something wrong," he said, his gaze scanning the desolate horizon. "The temporal distortions are getting worse, time seems to be." Slipping Anya, ever the pragmatist, frowned. "You think the Order is here, trying to disrupt our journey?" Elara shook her head, her voice tinged with fear. "It might be worse. The Kron Wastes are volatile. The closer we get to the tears, the more unstable the temporal flow becomes." Alex's heart hammered against his ribs. They were racing against not just the Order but time itself. If the temporal distortions worsened, they could be flung into any point in history, stranded and helpless. The following morning, the landscape shifted dramatically. What was once barren rock formations now morphed into towering crystalline structures, their surfaces shimmering with an otherworldly glow. The air crackled with wartime energy, threatening to unravel the very fabric of reality. Suddenly, the harsh screech of metal ripped through the air. A sleek, obsidian-colored airship materialized above them, its menacing silhouette casting a chilling shadow. The Umbra Order had arrived, a battle erupted on the shifting sands of time. Elara, surprisingly agile for her age, fought with a ferocity born of regret, her movements honed during her years as an acolyte. Anya wove intricate spells from the ancient book, deflecting blasts of dark energy. Corvus, a blur of dark robes, used his knowledge of forgotten martial arts to disarm and disable approaching Umbra soldiers. Alex, channeling the Scepter's power, unleashed bolts of energy, attempting to disable the airship's weapons. But the fight was a desperate struggle. The Umbra Order, equipped with advanced weaponry and fueled by fanaticism, seemed relentless. Just as despair threatened to engulf them, a blinding flash tore through the battlefield. The airship sputtered and lurched, smoke billowing from its damaged engines. Isabella, ever the resourceful engineer, had used a modified EMP device hidden within the caravan to disrupt the airship's technology. This unexpected turn of events bought them precious time. With a renewed surge of determination, they pushed back the Umbra forces, driving them back towards the crippled airship. But the victory was short-lived. As the dust settled, Elara pointed towards a colossal crystalline structure at the heart of the warped landscape. Atop it, a swirling vortex of temporal energy pulsed with an otherworldly light. The tears of Chronos, the battle for the fate of the world, was about to reach its climax. They had fought through temporal anomalies, battled relentless enemies, and now they stood at the precipice of a choice that could rewrite reality itself. Episode 40, Fractured Tears. The colossal crystalline structure loomed before them, a beacon of shimmering temporal energy. At its peak, a swirling vortex pulsed with an otherworldly light, the tears of Chronos. The battle had brought them a temporary reprieve, the battered Umbra airship sputtering on the horizon. Exhaustion gnawed at Alex, his muscles screaming in protest. But the sight of the tears rekindled his determination. This was it. The fate of the fractured world hung in the balance. "We need to reach the tears before the order does," Anya rasped, her voice ragged but resolute. Elara nodded grimly. "The vortex is unstable. It could fling you anywhere in time. You need to be prepared." Corvus, his face etched with concern, stepped forward. "There's another problem. The prophecy mentions a specific ritual to activate the tears. Do any of you know it?" A heavy silence descended upon the group. The weight of Corvus's words settled in. They had fought their way through a desolate wasteland, only to discover they might not even be able to use the tears once they reached them. Despair threatened to engulf Alex, but a flicker of defiance sparked in Sarah's eyes. "There might be something in the restricted section scrolls," she stammered, her voice barely a whisper. A fragment of a ritual, hope flared within Alex. A fragment might not be the complete picture, but it could be enough. With a renewed sense of urgency, they huddled around Sarah, her voice guiding them through the cryptic inscription. Meanwhile, the battered Umbra airship lurched back to life, its engines whining ominously. A swarm of figures emerged from the vessel, cloaked soldiers led by a tall, imposing figure radiating dark energy, the high Umbra priest they had glimpsed during their infiltration of the temple. "There they are," the priest boomed, his voice echoing across the desolate landscape. "Seize the tears, let the fracture consume them all." The battle lines were drawn once more. This time, however, the stakes were even higher. They weren't just fighting for their lives. They were fighting to control the very fabric of time. Elara, fueled by a desperate need for redemption, charged towards the approaching Umbra soldiers, a whirlwind of dark magic and honed combat skills. Anya, her voice hoarse from chanting, unleashed a barrage of protective spells, creating a shimmering barrier around the base of the crystalline structure. Corvus, his movements surprisingly agile despite his age, weaved through the battlefield, disarming enemies with a practiced efficiency. Alex, channeling the Scepter's power, unleashed bolts of pure energy, pushing back the tide of darkness. But the fight was a desperate struggle. The Umbra soldiers, fueled by fanaticism, seemed relentless. Just as Alex felt despair gnawing at the edges of his resolve, Sarah cried out. "I have it," she shouted, her voice strained. "The partial ritual, it's incomplete, but it might be enough to activate the tears." Hope surged through Alex. With a battle cry, he pushed back the nearest Umbra soldier and raced towards Sarah. She relayed the fragmented ritual, a series of cryptic hand gestures and whispered incantations. Time was running out. The airship, its repairs complete, hovered menacingly above them, its dark cannons trained on their position. Alex gritted his teeth and began the ritual, his movements fueled by desperation and a fervent hope for success. As he completed the final gesture, a blinding light erupted from the crystalline structure. The vortex at its peak pulsed with an unearthly intensity, threatening to consume everything in its path. The ground trembled, the very air shimmering with the raw power of time. Then, silence. The vortex stabilized, bathed in a soft, ethereal glow. The fragmented ritual had worked. The tears of Chronos were activated. But before they could celebrate their victory, a chilling voice echoed through the desolate landscape. "Fools," the high priest snarled, a manic glint in his eyes. "You've activated the tears, but you haven't mastered them." With a wave of his hand, the priest unleashed a torrent of dark energy, aiming it directly at the vortex. The tears of Chronos, imbued with the power of time, reacted violently. The very fabric of reality began to tear, cracks appearing in the air, spewing forth glimpses of forgotten eras. Anya screamed, thrown back by the surge of temporal energy. Corvus stumbled, a look of horror etched on his face. The world around them began to fragment, threatening to pull them into the chaotic abyss. Alex lunged forward, desperation fueling his movements. He had to stop the priest, to prevent the tears from tearing the world apart. But before he could reach him, a blinding flash engulfed them all. The world dissolved into a swirling vortex of colors and fragmented memories. Images flashed before Alex's eyes, a bustling marketplace from a forgotten era, a desolate battlefield littered with futuristic weaponry, the serene library archives bathed in a golden light. Disoriented and nauseous, Alex found himself sprawled on a cold, damp stone floor. The air crackled with a strange energy, and a faint scent of mildew filled his nostrils. He sat up, his head throbbing, and scanned his surroundings. He was in a dimly lit chamber, its walls adorned with faded murals depicting celestial bodies and swirling temporal energy. Relief washed over him as he saw Anya, Corvus, and Sarah huddled together a few feet away, all seemingly unharmed but dazed and confused. Where are we?" Sarah stammered, her voice barely a whisper. Anya shook her head, her brow furrowed. "The Krun wastes are gone. This place. It doesn't feel familiar." Corvus rose to his feet, a haunted expression on his face. This looks like an ancient time chamber, a forgotten vault hidden deep beneath the Umbra Temple." Alex's blood ran cold. They weren't victors, they were prisoners, trapped within the very heart of their enemy's stronghold. The tears of Kronos, in their desperation, had flung them not just through time, but through space as well. Suddenly, a booming voice echoed through the chamber, sending shivers down their spines. "So, the fabled protectors have arrived." A most unexpected turn of events. The High Priest of the Umbra Order materialized from the shadows, his dark robes billowing around him. A cruel smile twisted his lips. "Welcome," he drawled, his voice dripping with sarcasm, "to the past. And to your doom." The High Priest's words hung heavy in the air, a chilling promise of imprisonment or worse. Panic threatened to consume Alex, but seeing the determination etched on the faces of his companions sparked a flicker of defiance. They weren't beaten yet. "We may be trapped," Alex declared, his voice firm despite the tremor in his heart, "but we're not giving up." Anya nodded grimly, her blue eyes flashing with anger. "We'll find a way out of here, we always do." Corvus, ever the pragmatist, surveyed the chamber. "This is an ancient time chamber, you say? There might be a way to activate it, to send us back to our own time." The High Priest scoffed. "Foolish hope. This chamber is deactivated for a reason, but fear not, your stay won't be long. You'll witness firsthand the glorious fracturing we've been working towards." His smile widened, a cruel glint in his eyes. "Soon, the world will be remade. And you'll be front row seats to its destruction." Knowing they had little time to waste, Alex and his companions huddled together, strategizing. Anya suggested using the ancient book, hoping it might contain information on activating the time chamber. Corvus, drawing from his knowledge of forgotten lore, examined the chamber walls, searching for hidden triggers or activation sequences. Meanwhile, Alex, his hand tightening around the scepter, kept a wary eye on the High Priest, anticipating any attempt to stop them. The air crackled with tension as they worked, a desperate race against time and a sadistic enemy. Suddenly, Anya gasped, her voice filled with excitement. "There's something here," a partial inscription. "It describes an activation ritual, but it requires specific artifacts. Artifacts the Umbra Order might possess." This posed a new challenge. Retrieving the artifacts from the enemy's stronghold seemed impossible, yet it was their only hope of escape. Alex exchanged a nervous glance with Corvus, who simply shrugged, a grim acceptance in his eyes. "We have no choice," Alex declared, his voice resolute. "We need to find those artifacts, even if it means facing the Order head-on." Anya pursed her lips, worrying etched on her face. "It'll be dangerous, we know," Sarah chimed in, her voice surprisingly steady. "But we can't let them win, not now, not ever." A new plan, fueled by desperation and a flicker of hope, began to take shape. They would need to infiltrate the heart of the Umbra Temple, retrieve the missing artifacts, and activate the time chamber, all while evading the watchful eyes of their captors. The mission was fraught with danger, a desperate gamble against a powerful enemy. But with their backs against the wall and the fate of the future hanging in the balance, they were prepared to fight. They had faced temporal anomalies, relentless enemies, and the instability of the fractured world itself. They wouldn't back down now. In the dimly lit chamber, under the watchful gaze of the mocking murals, they made their pact. They would become unlikely heroes, their only weapons their courage, their ingenuity, and a shared belief in their ability to rewrite the fractured future. Their journey through time had taken a perilous turn, but their resolve remained unbroken.